Very happy to be here. I've been learning so much so far. I work at the ETH in Zurich in Switzerland. I'm an educational developer. The ETH is a very technical university, so we don't have humanities, no text analysis, unfortunately. Very jealous. So my title here says it all. I'm trying to foster collaboration among students. Let me give you some background. The status of lecture material at universities, or at least at ETH, is very bleak. The students use physical books, PDFs, and in the worst case, PowerPoint presentations as PDFs. So there is no interaction, almost no collaboration possible. And that is why I put together a web platform, open source as well, for my focus is a bit broader. It's interactive lecture material. It's called eScript, and when I say script, I mean the German script, das Skript. It's not the same as the English script. It means the core material of the lecture. What does it look like? There is a catalog. These are different lectures. It is very book-like, so with chapters, structured content. You have text, pictures, graphs, and we have interactivity. We use the interactivity modules of H5P. Here is a video, and we make them interactive right now with usually control questions in the middle, so that students will be stopped and say, please think, and if you haven't understood it, please go back. And we have annotation. We use Hypothesis on this server. And we've had some minor troubles with Hypothesis. No, not with Hypothesis, I'm sorry, just one minor with Hypothesis, but with annotation. Students are shy. This is not true. Students may be shy. They may be afraid of abuse, as we've heard today, may be afraid to be exposed. But usually it will work if you give them a task and if you embed it in your lecture. So it has to be part of what you're doing. Some lecturers are good at it and some not so much. The trouble with Hypothesis is a minor one, but still it's my favorite students who ran into troubles. It's the ones that took their iPad, that work digitally, and they, yeah. But it's minor, and I'm sure you're going to fix it. No, I love Hypothesis, really. The ETH is very restrictive, and at some point, and nobody told me, the ETH spam filter blocked every Hypothesis email. So my students weren't able to create accounts anymore. And nobody told me. I don't know for how long it was the case, and it was the beginning of the semester, and this is so bad. But we fixed it now. Somebody told me so. Then, because they have to log into our site, then log into Hypothesis. It's an additional login, and I don't see the problem, but I hear people complaining about it all the time. Lecturers and students. A bit more severe is the data privacy protection. As an employee of the ETH, I may actually not use Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever. My data has to stay inside, or at least in Switzerland. And so the status quo is that when lecturers want to use Hypothesis with their students, they cannot force them, they just can ask them to do that voluntarily. So it cannot be assessed then. Despite all this, they have used annotation. And in our first year, we had a self-programmed annotation with only public annotations. We had one lecture in the fall, one in the spring, and we had a scenario review. We told them, please correct the material. I can tell you, they found every typo. there is not a typo there anymore. Every error in a formula, every muddy point, unclear language, and we got 400 annotations. Some of them, but a small part of them, with real questions about the content. We evaluated this, and they told us we need private annotation. Because if we work online and do this publicly, we don't want to switch to the PDF and annotate there with our own notes. We want to be in one space. And I understand this, and so that's why we switched to Hypothesis and in September last year. And it offers public, private, and group annotations. Group annotations like the best for our cases. It's really good. We ran 3 lectures in the fall, and 1 lecture is running right now. And we didn't have a scenario. We just told the students, there is public annotation. If you have a question, please write it down so you can get an answer from an assistant, and you can take your private notes. And so far, a month ago, there were 80 annotations. I mean, I thought I'm giving up. They're not interested, they're not using it, who cares? But I knew with no scenario, this actually is meant not to work. But then I wrote to Hypothesis because I wanted to know if the students had used private annotation. And I got the number, and it's almost 2,000 private annotations. So that gave me a lot of hope. I was like, yes, they are going to work online and be digital. And so I will not give up. I wouldn't have anyway, but... Nevertheless, private annotations doesn't bring collaboration. So we have to have these scenarios and embed it in the lectures. I will show you 5 scenarios. The first one I've already talked about, it's review. And what happens here, and what I've really seen many, many times, is a student will write, this is wrong. Then the assistant will write back and say, no, but you know, it's that, and it's like that, so that's why it's correct. Then the student will write back and say, yes, but if it's that and that, then this is wrong. And usually, in the end, the assistant will say, yes, you're right. And this makes me so happy. Because, yeah, I mean, they're really in there. They're really getting it in. That's review, and this works. But you can only do it once, because afterwards your material is just perfect. The next one is an idea of a summary annotation. The material my students have to go through is huge, and I would assign, or I would tell the lecturer to assign parts of the material to different students, and they would annotate with a summary. So at the end, all the students have a big summary of the material. The next is a formula cheat sheet annotation, I called it, or the like annotation. In a math lecture, the students are allowed to bring along parts of the material, formulas, as a cheat sheet, so to help them. They don't have to learn everything by heart. And these lectures want now students to vote on the material that they will be allowed to have at the exam. And I would love a like button in Hypothesis, but we will work around it. This will not be a problem. I'm totally excited because the math people are weird as well. So, yeah. And by the way, formulas on the web, this is a whole mess. But still, another scenario would be formula annotation. I would assign formulas, complex ones, more than that, or set of formulas, and I would like the students to narrate the formulas. What is happening? What is it? And with what we use KTech for formulas, you can select parts of the formula. And so they could narrate it, say what it is, its logic, the steps that are happening. And lastly, annotation with visual aids. I got the idea from a student because he did one of it. And I would like to ask the students, if you stumble upon something on the internet, a good picture, a good video, please annotate it. This is one chapter of a material we use. And the visualization of content is very important for the learning process. And I think it adds to it quite nicely. So, yeah. To sum up, my goals are help the students in their learning process. That's very important to me. Make them more digital, work online where collaboration is possible, and let them experience the collaboration. That is, the experience part here is important, so that they can see that it's really beneficial. But I'm done. Thank you very much for your attention.